I really wanted to honor what was done in the past, but also try to bring in something a little bit newer. I'm here.
Hey, Nico. Oh.
Do you think that Nico and Peter have more than their friendship?
I believe that Nico and Peter are really good friends. Thank you for having me, Abby.
It's such a huge success. Congratulations, first of all, on that.
Thank you.
How does it feel now to be part of the Marvel franchise?
Pretty overwhelming. I think, the Marvel fan base is so passionate about all the different characters, and everyone's really invested in, even the smallest characters, the biggest characters like Spider-Man. So it really, truly is an honor to be even a small part in this universe.
At this point, how far in are you with Marvel? Do you watch the movies, shows, or are you kind of far away from it?
No, I've watched all the Marvel content and movies and a lot of the TV shows as well. Not all of them, but I would say, I am a part of that fan base, especially with leading up to Endgame. I watched everything, and the TV shows that have come out recently, I've loved, and I love the kind of like new takes and spin-offs and delving deeper into kind of the backstories of a lot of these characters. I really enjoy that, and it's great that we get kind of a newer spin on Spider-Man, this like beloved character. So yeah, I just started reading the comics as well, because as you know, with this show we have some prequel comics that's been coming out, so I've been reading up on those, and it's been a blast, honestly.
Yeah, I am one of those guys who watches a lot of movies and shows. I'm the one guy who has not really read a lot of comics, only one or two, which is way back. But like, do you have like any recent favorite Marvel show, movie that you watched that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Agatha All Along.
Ooh,
I love the I love witchcraft. I love, when like a ragtag team of ladies get together. I love it. I love that trope. And I love it's funny because Nico also is, her kind of backstory also is tied in with magic. And I really liked Agatha All Along, and yeah, and what was the other one? It was WandaVision. I loved WandaVision. I know I'm only bringing up magic TV shows right now, but I really loved WandaVision. I mean the acting was phenomenal, and that element of like I love the different genres that came along with Agatha All Along and WandaVision, dressing up in different, eras, and I love all that. It's very fun.
Nico is also having those kind of magical powers in like the entirety of Marvel is considered comics and stuff like that. Knowing that you were playing Nico before kind of the show came out, when you were working on it, did you start reading the materials more, like the past comics and stuff like that, or did you watch something? Like, how was your preparation at this point?
So I when I got the role, I kind of, did my standard research on her, kind of looking on the Wikipedia pages, and then kind of seeing what the online discourse of her history was. And I know there was a TV show, Runaways, and Nico was beautifully portrayed by Lyrica. And I know that there was a lot of expectation for this character from the fans. And so when I stepped into this voice role, I really wanted to, honor what was done in the past, but also try to bring in something a little bit newer. And that has a lot to do with the writing as well. So I'm very fortunate that, the creators and the writers of the show took such great care with her character and her development. And I'm really excited to see, what they do with her later on.
It's so amazing with obviously all these characters which are portrayed in a little bit different way. I'm curious, when you found out that you're playing this role, like what was your reaction at the time? Like, okay, Marvel animated series, it's Spider-Man.
Yeah, so it was just like any other audition. It didn't say that when the audition came in, it didn't say Spider-Man. It just said, a new animated TV show, Disney Plus. I don't even know if it said Disney Plus, but anyway, I digress. They gave me sides that didn't have Nico's name or Spider-Man name, so I had no idea what I was auditioning for. And when I got the call, I never went in for a callback or a producer session. I booked the job after my initial audition, and my agent called me, and I was like, "Oh, wow! Like that's awesome." Funny enough, I had no idea they were making a Spider-Man show. I wasn't following that closely to the kind of news reports and releases. So when I looked into it, I was like, "Oh, okay. Like this is what they're doing," and you know, it is it does feel a little daunting. I think at the time I was really nervous because I felt like, um, you know, uh, I'm I want to do the character justice, but also I want to do the show justice, and I want people to enjoy it. And at the end of the day, you kind of just do your best and then release the show, and then fingers crossed that people like you. So I'm glad that people like the show. I'm really glad that people have enjoyed it and want more. So I'm excited.
Are you one of those people who go on the internet and find out what people are thinking, what the responses is to your character?
um, If I'm being honest, yes. I am on the Reddit platforms and
Oh
I'm on
no.
there. I'm in the background. I am looking and I'm reading. But I think generally the audience is so smart. I think especially with Marvel fans, they don't miss anything and have um they have such a keen eye for all the tiny details that is in the show. And that is something that, there's some things that maybe if I didn't read the comics, I'll go online and I'll see, somebody say like, oh, this meant this, or this is a character from this novel. I mean, this comic, or they're bringing back this little thing from, another TV show. Uh, I'm constantly learning from the Marvel community, and I, which is why I love going on there and kind of seeing what everyone's saying because I'm discovering new things all the time. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's luckily like a lot of people don't have like crazy things to say on Reddit because people on Reddit usually are intense and they go completely in a different direction. So yeah, the character design is also really good. I love how she looks, her wardrobe, her hairstyle. What was your reaction when you first saw her and how she is?
Um, I was like, I think I had the same like cardigan that she wears, like that plaid like cardigan when I was a kid, but just like in red and black. And that was such a when I first saw her character, the first instinct I had was it felt like she was wearing armor, and a lot of these pieces were very protective. And I think that in some, I don't know why I thought that. I think after kind of voicing her character and really being in her shoes, she is a lot of her, you know, her negativity sometimes and her protectiveness of Peter comes from a place of like hurt. And I think a lot of the things, her spikiness sometimes is a way to protect herself, which I think at the end of the day, she's just very sensitive and is like a teen, which people forget, like these are teenagers, and a lot of times teenagers are, they don't they don't think about the big picture. They're thinking about themselves and how things are hurting them. So whenever I think about, Nico, I think back to when I was in middle school and early high school and how insecure I was and like how meaningful friendships were, which I think is explored a lot in the first season.
Yeah, I'm so happy that that is actually one of the things that is explored. That Nico is hurt with what's happening with Peter, as he didn't say, and how things were going. But Nico is also really cool in different things. She's a fan of B movies, which is awesome. And are you one of those people as well? Like watching B movies is
Oh,
the thing? Totally.
absolutely. Oh my goodness. I think my favorite genre is like just action adventure, like buddy cop, doesn't take itself too seriously. I think, Shaun of the Dead is Shaun of the that like Shanghai Nights, Shaun of the Dead, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like those movies are my favorites. Just having a good time and like not taking itself too seriously. And I love it when like random people get together on a team and it's ragtag and nobody knows what they're doing and those are my favorites. So I do. Me and Nico are the same in that.
Obviously, one of the things that has been explored in the show is Nico and Peter's relationship or friendship. Do you think that at some point in time, Nico and Peter have more than their friendship is turning into something else? Do you believe that is a thing that can go towards?
Yeah.
I think we don't know what the creators of the show are going to do with the character, but I think right now I believe that Nico and Peter are really good friends, and there's so much to explore there with just being friends, having met, on that first day with the destruction of the school, and then becoming best friends, which, we see a lot in the comics, but we don't really see on screen of how they became best friends. And then now with this added layer of Peter being Spider-Man, there's so much groundwork to lay down first about how do you navigate a friendship that is now turned on its head with, a third character, Spider-Man. It's Peter, Nico, and Spider-Man now. So it's like there's so much to explore there first. So I haven't really thought about anything beyond that because we don't know how Peter and Nico, their friendship will evolve with Spider-Man too, with its added danger and with Harry and Webb. So yeah, I think right now I think I'm very much on the side of let's explore their friendship first and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see what happens next because there's clearly more things going on, and obviously we will probably hopefully get to see in season 2 and onwards. And as you mentioned, she's also friends with Harry now and things are sort of in a good spot. Do you think that Nico will become like a part of Team Spider-Man and like Harry is helping him as well?
I would hope so. I think at the end of episode 10, she does get a text from Harry saying it doesn't have any specifics, but I think it's a text that Harry sends out, like blasts out to all the people for Webb. So I would assume that Harry's asking Nico to join. I think it would be fun, and I think Nico would want to be involved. I think she was really hurt when she found out through Harry, who she had, like, this was the first time of them hanging out when she found out. So I would assume that she would like to be a part of the team later on. Whether that's just to, keep Peter in check, I don't know, give a spiel about, not working with millionaires, I don't know. Or just like comedic relief or whatever, I'm sure she's down.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I love the friendship of Nico and Harry that developed as she was not a fan of Osborn's pretty boy turning into like, okay, I can give him a chance, and she learned how to drive because of him, which is a really cool moment. And as she raced, what an amazing time. Nico is also a character which is like an LGBTQ character, and at some point I think in the show it was also were a point where she was saying to Peter that she would ask Pearl out if Peter didn't ask her out. How do you feel representing this side of the character and representing the LGBTQ community?
Yeah, I think it's really wonderful that we are getting this character kind of front and center, and her being like unabashedly going, telling Peter, what she wants. And I think I just love that the visibility is there. And, whatever happens with Nico and whatever relationships that she has down the road, I think ultimately I am glad that she, at least from, when I was a kid, there's so many times where you feel like what you want, you don't want people to know and you're ashamed of it. And I'm really happy that Nico knows, at least in when you're young, you there's so many things you don't know, but at least in this, she knows, and she's unashamed, and she is here for it, and she's gonna go after what she wants, and whoever that is. I think she is bisexual traditionally in the comics. I know in the Runaways, she and Carolina had a thing. So I just love that in every iteration of this character that we're being truthful to kind of her past. And I'm excited. I'm excited to explore, whoever comes Nico's way. And I think I'm just glad that this is something that Nico knows and wants herself, even though there's all this other upheaval going on around her. This is something like her sexuality. She seems, at least to me in the first season, fairly sure. So I'm honored to represent a character that is like her.
A lot of people were also talking about like how it is amazing to see how this character is present in the show, and it's not afraid to kind of show that, and
Yeah.
and so it's really cool too. And I hope that there's more, we explore more of that in the next season. If you had like a control, or if you wanted to like see, where would you like Nico to go in the next season, for instance, where would you want Nico to see?
Um, I think, you know, in this first season, you don't see her with any powers, and we don't know exactly what's going on with her parents. At the very, very end, you see in episode 10, she has clearly a spell book of some kind. Her pendant is clearly something. We don't know really what that is yet. And I think I want her to explore whatever that is, that kind of maybe magical witchy side of her a little bit more in the second season, I hope. And but I also don't like, sometimes I feel like things move really fast, and I like how the show really takes its time with characters and relationships. I think setting up the groundwork for um, Nico and Harry's friendship and Nico and Peter's friendship, especially that scene in the alleyway, those moments, you have to really earn them with time. And I know some fans don't like that, but I think in order to build a really strong foundation for characters, you need time to like lay in the groundwork of them fighting and then them getting back together, and that kind of push and pull, because I think real life is like that. So even though I personally would love to see, a more fantastical, larger than life, powers, whatever for Nico, I think also there's so much that we don't know about her personally, and like why she is the way she is, and like why she's in a foster, all these things. So I would love to, go forward, but also go backward and look in the past and see what happened to Nico, and just develop like relationships and friendships. I think would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, like when you have these characters kind of built up slowly and slowly,
Yeah.
then any of the moments that comes up, it's like more, it feels more personal, it feels more relatable. And otherwise, like
Right.
if all of a sudden she has powers and things are happening, it's too much.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you're familiar with Marvel. Is there a character that you would like to see Nico kind of team up with?
Uh, okay, let me think. I know that like I would want to say, okay, I know this. Okay, I think the person that I would want Nico to not even team up, but just like be in the same room, or maybe just have like having like an elevator scene would be like her and Wanda. I really like an older sister to younger sister kind of dynamic, and like that, like teaching powers, and like, oh, this is what I've gone through, and like I don't want you to go through it too. And them kind of having the same, they're kind of in the same kind of universe with their powers. So I would just love to see Nico with like another like older kind of magic wielder, and not even in a team up. I would just imagine in like a coffee shop, or like they like meet one, you know what I mean? Something like like almost like a cameo. Yeah, that's my answer.
When you started like kind of your journey as an actor, was there ever a goal kind of setting of like, okay, maybe I would love to work in these certain franchises, maybe work with that director? Did you have those goals and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think um honestly, I think any opportunity to work with another artist is a great opportunity, and I would take it. And um, of course, there are certain types of movies that would like to be in. But you know, even being a little part of the Marvel universe has already been, you know, a huge achievement for me. Being in this show, so yeah, I think um, there's so many wonderful directors and creators out there that I would love to work with, and there's so many wonderful you know, producers, directors that I've worked with before that I never in my life I would have imagined meeting, and some of my biggest um, you know, superstars that I looked up to when I was growing up, being able to work with them and just be in the presence. Every day that I get to work in this world is like such a blessing.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see what comes next. And I want to kind of go back in time a little bit more. And I'm curious, like, when like this idea of like okay, acting kind of began for you. Like, is it looking at some movie that helped you be like, okay, that would be I wanna go with that.
Yeah, so I didn't actually like act in high school. I started really in college, and I really loved Rachel McAdams' audition tape for The Notebook. And I
Wow.
remember watching that and thinking, wow, like I want to do that. That's like that like really moved me, and I love her in that audition tape. It's so real. And I at the time I was in, not thinking about acting at all, and I kind of just fell into it on a whim, honestly. And it's worked out so far. So I'm I'm every day I'm so thankful that I took that leap of faith and decided to pursue acting full time. And yeah, it's been wonderful. And I think voice acting is also something that I didn't quite imagine for myself early on because it's such a tight knit community. It's very, very hard to break into the voice acting world because the titans in this industry, they do everything. So for me, you know, when I first got my voiceover agent, she told me, she's like, you know, it is quite hard to break in. So I really wasn't expecting anything. I was, you know, kind of thinking, you know, like great, but like I know there's so many, you know, wonderful voice actors out there that are so amazing. And so I was always thinking, you know, if I get something, awesome, but if I don't, it's okay, you know. So it is like it was quite a surprise when I got this role.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so happy that you did because you did such a phenomenal work in this and as like a lot of people have been saying online as well. I I'm curious like obviously you mentioned like you were nervous when you came into this show like like do you remember your first kind of day of when you were going to record your first few lines? How was that, what was going on in your head at the time? Like were you insanely nervous? Like what did you do and what how did it all went by?
um yeah, I that first day, um I had to listen back to my audition and be like, "What did I do?" Uh, so I, I listened back and I was like, "Okay, I can kind of see what I was doing." And you know, with voice acting and with acting in general, the job is never yours until the show comes out. You know, I'm always thinking like they can replace me at any time, and like every moment I'm fighting for my job. So I was never like, oh, you know, I booked this role and that's it. No, no, no. It's like I have to prove myself every step of the way. So I remember that first day thinking, um, I came in and I was like, I can do what I did in the audition, but I can also do something totally different if that's what you want. But thankfully they liked what I did, which is great. So I remember that first day being like, I didn't see any drawings. I didn't see what Nico looked like until way later on. So I kind of just came in and they were like, I didn't hear anybody else's voice either. You don't get other people's voices in your microphone because everybody's recording at different times. So I was in there in the booth by myself and they were like, okay, like this is the character, this is the scene, go ahead. So I think I tried really hard to embody like what I thought this character would sound like. And then it all kind of comes together later on when you're recording, be like, oh, okay, like, this seems to be working, or I keep getting notes about like making her this way. And like, then the clay that was Nico gets formed into a statue of her, which is what she is now.
Yeah, definitely. I cannot imagine how nerve-wracking it must be for like a first day to not even have like a kind of visual appearance of like how it is, and you just have to just go with it. But it all worked out in the end, and I'm so happy that it did. And now you have played Nico in this whole one season, 10 episodes, all these scenes. How do you like relate to this character at this point? Is there something specific that is much more relatable to you?
100%. I think Nico, Nico, she's really, in the beginning, it feels like she's really possessive about Peter as a friend. And especially with her interaction with Harry, when she was in Peter's apartment, and she was saying, well, that's because that's why we're best friends. That's why we're XYZ. And that urge to grab on to something that you feel like is yours reminds me so much of how I was too when I was a kid growing up, because there's so many, like, being made fun of as a kid and also being bullied, like that's something that you don't forget. And then when somebody comes along and they're your friend and they see you and they accept you, you feel like they're the only person in the world who feels that way. And when you feel like your friend is getting taken away from you or leaving you behind, whatever, you kind of lash out and you want to lash out at this new person. As an adult now, everybody has a backstory. You cannot judge someone based off the initial kind of impression of them. And Harry is kind of the opposite of Nico. He's got all this money. He is really rich, and he is a star, and he's, fabulous and stylish. And to Nico, that is like the antithesis of like who she is and who she thinks Peter is too. So she's like, me and Peter are on one side and Harry's on another side. And I think the show does a good job of showing how wrong she is. And I love that that Harry kind of calls her out on it when they're having that date together, of him being like, you judge so fast and then you don't give people a chance, and you also are punishing Peter for doing something that he's trying to protect you. So I think Harry does a great job of opening up Nico's world to something that's not just herself. And that selfishness, I think, starts to crack and crumble when she's opened up to new ideas. And I think like that is really important, not being closed off and not being insular, and being open to other people's ideas and being open to accepting somebody else's choices pertaining to you, and being able to talk about it afterwards and then come back together. So I really admire about how they did that for Nico, and how they, wrote that in for Harry and was able to kind of teach her that lesson. Because I think that's something that a lot of people even now, they don't understand. And so when it comes to like, I understand Nico's impulses. I understand why she feels that way. She's a teen and she feels like she's being left out. But I'm also really proud to represent a new version of her that like is a lot more open-minded, and hopefully more open-minded going to season 2.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice to see. And yeah, it's so cool to hear from you saying about everything that Nico is, and because we all feel it when we're watching the show. And
Yeah.
you were mentioning about voiceovers earlier. Is there now, obviously voice getting into voiceover industry is kind of like much more harder. There's so much things happening. But is there a franchise or anything that you would like to get yourself into?
Um, it's not running anymore, but at the time, BoJack Horseman.
Wow.
I think that was one of my favorite um, animated shows of all time, and it is so dark, but so funny. It's phenomenal, and obviously love Rick and Morty. If ever I got the opportunity, but I think to answer your question, if there's one project, it would be Harley Quinn. I
Oh,
love
wow.
I love Harley Quinn. Um it's so well written. The voice acting is phenomenal. And even I can be like a tree. I'll be a tree in the background with,
Yeah.
I'll be a trash can. I don't care. I love the show so much. But yes, so back then at the time it was BoJack Horseman, and now it's probably Harley Quinn.
Okay. Well, you never know. Maybe you will be coming in, swooping in. That would be cool to see. um, to end this whole thing, there are a few fan questions that people would like to know, if you're good with that. All
Sure.
right. Okay. So first comes from Ezra. What was your favorite scene and episode from season one?
Um, my favorite scene and favorite episode. Okay, my favorite scene was probably the scene with her and Peter talking in the alleyway. Um, I when they first showed me the script about her punching Peter, I like I laughed so hard. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's going to punch Peter." And when I saw it actually like live on my TV, and I was like, this is hilarious. And it brought me back to uh, the Kirsten Dunst and scene when they were upside down. I was like, oh my god, the upside down Spider-Man. They brought
Yeah.
that back, which was awesome. So I really like that scene because I feel like she was super vulnerable. I think she like it's really hard even as adults to say you were wrong, and for her to be like, no, like I was wrong, sorry. I think that was really big, and I think that's a really important moment to show people apologizing, for real to their friends. That doesn't happen enough in real life, so I'm glad she did that. Um, and then I think my favorite episode, you know, I don't. I think I don't remember exactly which episode it was, but it was the episode that Harry was teaching her how to drive, and they kind of had the whole day together, and um, the girl like comes up and she's like making fun of Harry, and I love how Nico like immediately is like, you can't make fun of Harry, I'm the one who gets to make fun of Harry, and like immediately backs him and then like races her. And I really like that episode. I think like I love Harry and Nico's like friendship and them kind of discovering like, oh, maybe we have more in common than differences. So yeah, that's my favorites.
Yeah, I love that episode. That's such a cool episode. We get to see more of Nico and also with
Yeah.
Harry. That initially probably didn't. I mean, Nico didn't like so much. Harry probably was fine and was annoyed, but like that episode built the relationship so well, and that whole race and that whole moment was so cool. I love that. That was also one of my favorite episodes.
I do have to say an honorable mention is the Scorpion fight scene. The fight scene with Scorpion was absolutely insane, and the fact that uh, they like really went for it, I was shocked. I was like, oh no, and I knew what was happening, but I still felt like I was seeing it for the first time. I really love the Scorpion fight scene.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I think was caught by surprise when he kind of got Peter at the end. I was like, oh my god, like, oh, okay, this is not looking good for Peter. Like it was that moment I did not expect him because it was not fully his scorpion costume. He was half like more things were like coming in the like
Right.
later part of the episode, but now he was like kind of he just had it and then he just almost killed him, and that was
Yeah,
the Peter's vulnerable kind of situation. It was so good, and I
yeah.
wanted that moment, and it was there. I loved it. So cool.
Oh, and I'm so sorry. One
Oh,
more.
right. Go
Last
ahead.
one, I promise. Um, when uh Harry's dad, when why am I blanking on his name? he said, with great power comes great respect. I got goosebumps. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe I didn't read that because you don't get the scenes that you're not in when you're when you're recording. So I had no idea that was coming. And I was like, you know that scene in Doctor Strange where he like punches her and he gets punched and then like his soul gets
Yeah.
sucked out. That was like me. I was like the line was so hard. It went so hard. I love that. It's such a good twist. I loved it. It was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, it was fun. They know what they were doing in that scene. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Now, Spider
Yeah,
Man is built by Norman Osborn's idea of with great responsibility comes great respect. I can see
yeah,
this is probably going to be an evil Spider. That was my thought. Like, oh, he's becoming evil. Okay, this is not turning out to be good. I was like, so it's such an incredible moment with like taking Uncle's
yeah.
Ben line and twisting it. There's so
Oh,
many.
so
I can break down and like probably pick all these moments and be like, oh, this moment was great. And there's so many.
yeah.
Next comes from Overall Bird username. They ask, I know that a lot of actors like to indulge in some improvisation. Is that true for your role in the show?
Oh, okay. So, in terms of improv, yes, I did have some freedom with certain lines. Like, uh, I think most of the lines I wasn't improving and I was just going off the script, but there were some where I can, have a little bit more fun with and like minor details. Like the scene where they're in the lunchroom and Nico's Lonnie and Pearl had just left. They got the text message and they had just left. And I'm like stealing Lonnie's lunch and like taking their lunch. And I say something like, I think they're like 89% sure that they're not coming back. That was improv because I think I did like a bunch of different numbers. I think I was like, oh, I'm 36% sure they're not coming back. And so that was like a fun little moment of like, I think it's something different on the page, but then I was able to improv a little bit and, so it's stuff, it's like small things like that. I get to improv. I don't get to improv too much because the show is very it leans really heavy on the writing and the plot. So which I'm very, very happy with and love the writing. So I'm very grateful when I get the opportunity to improv a little bit.
That's awesome. Did not know that the 89% that line was kind of improv. I love that moment as well. She loves to eat. um, and next comes from Shiny Ninja. They ask, is there any character that you want to appear in the upcoming seasons of the show?
Like in the whole, like if we're talking about the whole Marvel universe,
I guess so. Hell yeah.
I think, uh, I think it would be nice to see. I know the Runaways. There's a lot of characters in the Runaways that I think were important to Nico in the comics and also in the TV show. And I know also the fans like love the Runaways and they want to see some of those characters from the show and maybe like come in. I don't know what's gonna happen because I don't know if we're tying in like those comics with this new version. But I think I would love to see, maybe some people from Nico's past and maybe some of the Runaways coming in. I don't know. Hopefully Wanda. I'm back to Wanda. Hopefully
Yes.
Wanda comes. And like comes and mentors Nico. I don't know. I think that'd be really cool.
We need like kind of it would be cool to have like a spin-off thing and it's Wanda and Nico and that's the show.
I would love a witches show. I would love a
Ooh,
show with all the witches. And that would
yes.
be very
The witches. Yeah, that'd be nice.
yeah.
Marvel's the witches. You need to pitch that. That'd be great. Next comes from Brom Dawn. They ask, if you get another opportunity or any other opportunity, what other character would you like to play? I'm assuming that still going with the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I guess like in voiceover, honestly, man, I would love to play anyone in X-Men.
Ah,
I think like if I can voice any of the X-Men, it would be so cool. I love that universe, and um either in live action or voiceover, anything really. Like I grew up watching those movies as a kid, and they have like such a grip on my identity as a child, and kind of yeah, I love X-Men. Any of the anyone in there, I would love to play.
yeah, X-Men is, yeah, that's the, I started watching Marvel stuff with X-Men, and it was
Yeah,
so cool. Logan was the guy for me for a long time as Wolverine,
yeah,
and it was so cool. And it's kind of sad to see that it sort of ended in that, like the whole X-Men thing with Deadpool and Wolverine.
yeah,
But I am hopeful that we will get to see more of those guys. It would be so cool.
yeah. If I had one character from X-Men, it'd be Psylocke.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
uh, I think she's we don't know anything. I mean, we do know stuff about her, but we don't see
Right.
her that often, especially now. I mean, I know, I think it was Fan Bingbing or Li Bingbing who played her in one of the
I think
like
so.
movies.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
so.
so if I ever got the opportunity to voice Psylocke, that'd be awesome. It's also just like a cool, like superhero like power too. So
Yes. Oh, that's great. Yeah, definitely. I have a bonus question to ask. Speaking of power, is like, do you have a specific power from any of the Marvel character that you really like or that you would like to have personally?
um, y- uh,
Putting you
I
on the
want
spot.
to
I'm sorry.
say I want to say I love Poison Ivy just because like just because I think her power is like good for the earth, and it would be awesome to like not have like such a destructive power. I think like her power is like, regenerative to some extent. And I think that would be cool. But obviously I want to say Charles Xavier, he's very powerful. I think like power level wise, like Charles Xavier. Um, yeah, but I think like some mix of like being able to organically grow something would be very cool. Like be able to grow my own vegetables, that'd be awesome. I mean, I could do that now, but just like, instead of like having to wait and like water and, you know, do all that, you can just like instantly get like a watermelon, which would be awesome.
The dream that you need to live. Yeah, that's a dream I can see. That's so cool. But I just want to say, Grace, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk about your friendly neighbor Spider-Man. It was really great to know from you, and I'm super excited to see the next upcoming seasons, however long it can go. And I'm just waiting. We all are waiting to see where Nico goes. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. I'm also waiting and I'm excited. And thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, thank you so much.